Thank you for your company once again. Now, the phone numbers and personal data of 533 million Facebook users have been leaked online. 1 million of those users are here in Ghana. The data includes full names, birthdays, phone numbers, and locations of users. Now, Facebook says the massive leak stems from an issue in 2019, which has been fixed. But that entire data set has been posted on a hacking forum for free, and it is widely available to anyone with rudimentary skills. Now, this should concern you if you're a Facebook user. I've been joined by Director of Regulatory and Compliance at the Data Protection Commission, Dr. Patrick Adono, and Founder and Executive Director of Africa Digital Hub, Teki Akwete Falconer. And we've also got a digital marketing strategist, Maximus Ametago, joining us for this all-important conversation. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm grateful to have you here. Let me start with you, Maximus. First things, how do I know if I'm part of those who've been affected by this?
I think the issue is that they have a huge data available online, which is free, people can access. For the last count we did, we had about 1,028,000 Ghanaians on that particular list. Now there's a website called Have I Been Pwned? Pwned as in pwned.com. You can check all the various sites where maybe your information has been leaked. That's the only way. You can also check the Facebook one. But the issue is that if you want to check the data sets with regard to your accounts that has been leaked, then you need to go through the whole list of the available email to be able to know whether your phone number, your location address, your Facebook ID, your full name, your city of residence, or the location that you use to register your Facebook account. All those details are there. I'm not sure somebody has designed a platform where they've dumped the information there so people can just search by their name or Facebook ID to be able to call their information up.
Now the next step is, and I'll come to the other two shortly, but let's do this quickly, Maximum. The next step is, so if I'm part of those who've been affected, what should I do to secure my data?
It's quite difficult because the issue is that if you use your phone number to do it, the two-factor authentication even of your account, which has also been leaked. Your email has been leaked. Your phone number has been linked. The issue is that you have less work to do in terms of how you protect your platform. Because when it comes to data protection, there's a privacy aspect which comes from you and the platforms, meaning that any information you are going to share, but in case it leaks, then other people will know your private information. So from your point, you must have a privacy policy. And then the platform also will guarantee one based on laws of the countries and international conventions as well, that if I collect your data, I'm going to make sure that it's private and it's kept for you. Now, there's another layer, which is data security, which means that I have to police or safeguard the data I'm storing about you, meaning that I have to put it in a very secure place so that nobody can hack into it or nobody can breach that security layer to have access to your data, which guarantees your privacy. So that's what Facebook didn't do. And then the platform was breached and all this information has been leaked.
Talking about
starts from you, the individual.
No, please finish.
So the privacy usually it starts from you, the individual, the information that we give to all this platform and the permissions that we also grant them as to how they can use your data. Now, the other worrying thing that some of us have is that all these platforms collect over 6 million Ghanaians on these platforms, and they are not being registered locally as data controllers. So maybe Teki will talk about whether our data protection law covers all the platforms that are virtually present in Ghana.
Sure. So let me find out from Mr. Dr. Adonu. Thankfully, we've got someone from the Data Protection Commission. This story broke about 2 days ago. Since then, Dr. Adonu, has our Data Protection Commission here in Ghana contacted Facebook?
Thank you very much, and very good morning to all your listeners. Let me start the discussion from saying that what has happened about 2 days ago isn't the first time, and we are quite sure that it might not be the last time. I'm not talking about Facebook alone, I'm talking about the various platforms where we engage as a dispensation, and by dispensation I don't mean only Ghanaians. In our generation, how our lives have been moved, virtually. And I'm to say that our engagement virtually will by all means will keep evolving. And so it means that the importance of data protection is going to heighten more and more and more and more. And the education on it, the education, the consciousness of everybody who is using any kind of virtual platform, knowing what is possible, whether positive or negative, is very important. And I think that from this angle, it's good that everybody listening to us through your platforms must know that once we are going to be engaging more and more and more on different virtual platforms, we need to understand what we are getting ourselves into as we get ourselves there.
Okay.
Now, going to your question as to whether the Data Protection Commission has reached out to Facebook. The Data Protection Commission is very, very. We talked to the Facebook institution. They say that from two or 3 days ago, when this came, we have rather liaised with our sister agencies, the National Cyber Security, to
all right. Sorry, I have to cut in, Doc. There's a bit of a challenge with your line. We'll try and rectify that. But let me bring in Teki Akwete Falconer. You've worked in this space, and you still work in the space. Let's talk about what we can do to protect citizens while we try and get an answer to whether or not our Data Protection Commission has even reached out to the tech giant in the first place.
Well, thank you very much. It's indeed an unfortunate incident, but as has rightly been stated on this platform, these issues are not going to go anywhere. And they're extremely serious considerations, looking at the amount of data and even the type of data that has been leaked. Data such as date of birth and phone numbers do not change easily. And so when individuals' information such as these have been compromised, it becomes an extremely challenging thing. Some of the reports we are getting, albeit not confirmed, is that Facebook has indicated that this incident happened sometime in 2019. However, the challenge is that my birth date will not change, and it's usually very difficult for phone numbers to change over such short periods. And you know that in our parts of the world, especially in Africa, our phone numbers are becoming like a significant identifier for us, where we are using it for several other things. So it really puts our people at risk. The problem we are facing is not just one of laws. As we rightly know, right now across Africa, we have a lot of laws. And that's why organizations such as mine, the Africa Digital Rights Hub, has been strongly advocating for measures to ensure that, we are able to build stronger institutions. And by stronger, I have had the unfortunate the opportunity of working with the Data Protection Commission in trying to set up the commission. One of the first challenges we faced, even though when you look closely at our laws, it puts the commission in a position where it is allowed to collaborate effectively with other international bodies because of the nature in which these laws work. The biggest challenge is that when you are going to deal with a system or an organization that is not necessarily registered within your jurisdiction. That in itself poses a big challenge. I must say, however, that our laws were very proactive in ensuring that we are able to not just, our laws extend beyond our jurisdiction. So under the data protection laws, if you are a data controller that is collecting information on people living in Ghana, you are mandated to register. But we know that in reality, this does not happen. And I've had the opportunity, even when I became a data protection commissioner, to interact with a number of the tech giants as we see them. And it was very clear that if they did not see any strong market proposition, they were not necessarily going to expose themselves to your market or to your jurisdiction. And that is where the challenge really comes in. A lot of the time when it comes to Africa and our citizens, the posturing of a lot of these organizations that look, how much money is Africa bringing me? And so they will not necessarily expose themselves. If you look at what is happening in Europe right now, Facebook is based in Ireland. And so the Irish data protection authorities are conducting an investigation. In Africa, I believe Facebook has a presence in South Africa and then in Nigeria. But look at the situation. Well, South Africa is now building their DPA. I don't know to what extent Ghana's Data Protection Authority is engaging with them. But that is why we have been calling for, and by saying we, civil society organizations have been calling for better collaboration amongst the data protection authorities, both within Africa and then between Africa and the rest of the world, because our authorities are not that strong. You're looking at a country whose economy possibly Facebook can buy off, and you want to fight against this giant. A lot of the time, we have to be very realistic. The laws are there, but the laws are not enough. And so we need to be looking, in order to protect people, we need to be looking at strategies that will effectively ensure that our citizens are adequately protected.
Okay.
It is unfortunate, but the truth is that when it comes to Africa, usually we are treated again as the last bit of it. Nobody really cares. And that also stems from the fact that nobody takes our regulators serious enough.
All right. Thankfully, we've gotten Dr. Adonu back. He's with the Data Protection Commission. Let's go back to that question I asked. Have you reached out to Facebook since the news broke?
All right, thank you very much. So as I was saying, our working, to start with, the Data Protection Commission is in very direct relations with all those big institutions and Facebook for that matter. So we've had a lot of discussions with Facebook. Now this issue here, about 3 days ago, and our regulations or how we work here is that we will touch base and assess the situation very well and understand exactly how Ghanaians have been affected, so that when we are talking to Facebook, we know what we are talking about. You can understand that by now, every nation is trying to get into it and fix it. So the Data Protection Commission has connected with the National Cybersecurity to give us a full assessment of what has happened here and what Ghanaians have had to go through. And then on this very technical report, we can address Facebook.
All right.
So there are processes that they must go through, and the Data Protection Commission has begun it.
Okay, and let me come to you, Mr. Ametogo. What kind of crimes can be perpetrated with the leaked data? Someone may be sitting somewhere saying, oh, but I mean, this is not the first time. It's just an email address and a phone number. What's the potential on this on our cybersecurity space?
I think it goes beyond that. You have your location, your region, your phone number, your email address, even some of your profile, your bio data. They are all on the same, exposed on these platforms. People can use it for social engineering. They can use your platform for spamming you with SMS. They can use your email also to fish, and then use it also as well to steal data from your email, of course, your inbox, and then use it against even where you even work. If you have your bio stating where you work and all that, somebody can have access to that, and then they call you, pretending to know you, and then they'll start selling some ideas to you and all that to scam other people who may not even know how people got those information. And 1 million, Ghanaians on Facebook is quite a huge number, and I think the data protection must take a very strong action on this particular situation.
But what happens to the data now? Because we are told it's online. People who know how to hack can get into the system. Basically,
but you don't need to hack. It's exposed. It's free. There are links where you can even fetch it. I have it on WhatsApp and all that. People are sharing all over the place.
So basically, if my information is out there, there's really nothing I can do about it.
Exactly. That's why it's very important, like Teke is saying, that if people are registered, all these platforms are registered in Ghana, then you can physically go there or have a legal action taken against them. Or Africa as a continent, maybe all the various countries must come together and put up a single front and have the issue addressed. In the European countries, you can't just allow this to happen. It can never happen. But in Africa, because they believe that we are quite smaller, and I know a lot of some other countries who are working in even how to categorize Facebook users, that Facebook is a business, a virtual business, that even Facebook users must be categorized as customers of Facebook because they sell advertising to these people, and they must be taxed, for operating in those countries. These are things that we should be thinking about. Then the data protection will just be the base of this particular drive.
Dr. Adonu, is Facebook registered in Ghana?
Before I answer your question, I think that I need to touch on something that Maximus talked about, so we can utilize what is happening to properly engage Ghanaians to understand the times in which we are. You ask the question that if you have information on now, it means that you cannot do anything about it. Now, in the digitized world, that is how important and that how vulnerable a person becomes when they put out information concerning themselves. Now, it is so important that we understand that in these times, whether we like it or not, data protection, it must be a significant aspect of our lives.
Yeah, but that's why you are there. Because
exactly. See, that is why you must be educated. That is why you need to be told that the protection of your data starts from you. I hear.
So wait, Doc. So can I just ask you? I just want us to. But is there anything that
I hear Maximus and Teki talk about the fact that the Data Protection Commission should rise up and speak for Ghanaians. But I'm telling you that a person's data protection starts from them.
Okay, I appreciate that.
This education we are giving.
Okay.
That you must be aware. First of all, you must be ready and aware of the damages you could be in if your data is breached. So the Data Protection Commission has been educating Ghanaians to understand that one, you need to be careful about information you put out. I've been on your platform before, and I've told Ghanaians that look, there are certain information that you put out there, and if it's breached, you are going to be in trouble. Two, there are systems to protect your data. One is that frequently, at least once every 3 months or 6 months, you go in there, change your password. These and many more are very few personal activities that you can do personally to heighten protection of your personal data.
Okay.
I just have to tell this game.
All right, Doc. Maximus, hold on. Let me just find out from Doc. So there are instances where people go onto Facebook and they pin their location and they share their location. That's understood. But we know that currently it is almost impossible to sign on to any social media site without putting in your telephone number or at least your email address or your birth date. So those are, call them necessary evils. You need to put that information out there anyway with the hope that that media site will protect your data. In this case, when there is a breach, like has happened now, Dr. Adonu, and this question is to you first, the others can pick it up later. Is there anything that you think made these victims vulnerable?
Definitely no. I mean, this is a breach, and it's not happening to only Ghanaians. There's a breach in the in Facebook system. It's only happening to Ghanaians. Now, once a breach, a person's data, the data, I mean, a person living in Ghana might not necessarily have might not have done anything to cause the breach, and therefore may not have been able to reduce their own vulnerability. Where they become vulnerable is what they put out there. And look, I am not doubting the fact that in dealing with these huge institutions, a single person, I like something that the key said. You said that an institution whose revenue might be more than perhaps that of an entire country. If a single person is dealing with such an institution, you know that we're talking about big matters here. So I'm saying that a person in themselves may not have done anything to cause themselves to be vulnerable, but the kind of information you put there, everybody's phone number is there, yes, you cannot do anything about it. Everybody's email is there, yes, you cannot do anything about it. But for some, they are in much more trouble because they put some other very sensitive information about themselves out there. That's why we are using the platform to tell Ghanaians that, look, when you get online, be careful what you put out there.
All right, to Maximus and Teki, would you want to respond to this? Do you think that...
Yes. I'm itching to respond to these. And you know, my challenge with what Dr. Adonu is saying is precisely the basis for data protection laws. Yes, people have control over how their information should be used and assessed. But as you are seeing right now, and based on his own, statements that he just made, there are situations where it's extremely difficult and almost impossible for an individual that, genuinely gave out their information to be protected. And that is why we have continued to advocate for data protection laws. That is why we have continued to advocate for the building of stronger institutions. And I'm not just talking about Ghana, but Africa-wide, so that we can really protect our citizens. Because there is only so much that we can do to protect citizens. Recently, I was in a conversation with another expert in the jurisdiction that advises international organizations. And one of the statements the person made, and this is somebody who may end up advising, some of these large technology corporations, said that Africa's countries have weak data protection laws and weak authorities, and even their fine system is not punitive enough. So breach it, instead of, and this was where we were having discussions around following protocols that will enable us protect our citizens. And the person said, look, it is fine to go ahead, and honestly, that is what these organizations look at. They cherry pick, they look at until GDPR, nobody was really taking data protection serious around the world, until you realize that it is going to cost you a certain percentage of your profits, right? Then the boardroom started taking it serious. And so we have to, this is a wake-up call, I believe, for all of us. We need to wake up and see how we can build stronger institutions. And I will make a lot of emphasis on the fact that Ghana's Data Protection Authority cannot do this by itself, and so will a lot of data protection authorities around the world. And so it's very important that we have to start thinking outside the box as Africans around these issues. Our governments need to sit up and say that, look, how do we ensure that we get the protection that is needed? We're talking of an Africa free trade area. Everybody is looking at Africa as an emerging market. and it's a very good market. But if we are unable to adequately protect our citizens, a time is going to come, that people are going to take their own interest in their hands. And possibly the worst side of it is that if I continue to feel that being on these platforms is going to violate and undermine my rights, I probably may choose not to be there. And if we don't have our institutions, that will also affect our economies, because ICT is definitely a critical part to growing our economies.
All right. I'll come to you for your quick reaction, Mr. Ametogo, shortly. But I still didn't get an answer to my question, Dr. Adonu. Let's just keep it simple. Is Facebook registered in Ghana?
All right, thank you. So Facebook doesn't have an office here yet. And once they don't have an office here, in fact, we are in discussions with them to commence their registration. Okay.
We'll come back to you.
Can I react real quick to what Teki said?
I'll come back to you, but I want to take Mr. Ametogo's reaction to that same question about whether certain things make people more vulnerable than others, or it's just a thing of probability that you may end up on that list of 1 million Ghanaians who've been affected by this data breach.
Yeah, you see, the issue is that even though you have your personal privacy policy, that's why we have the Data Protection Commission, because they are supposed to ensure that anybody who collects my data protects it and secures it so that it doesn't get breached. So for me, I disagree with Dr. at some of his comments that Ghanaians are not the only people whose data has been breached. Because some countries, they don't even care whether it's only one citizen, and they'll make sure that the platform pays for it. You may not even know the numbers, because this may be somebody, an independent person's research, and they are saying 1 million people. It may be more. It may be the 6 million people, and they only have access to the 1 million data, right? So for me, as a commission, they should be able to register all these platforms. They don't need to be physically present. You can create a virtual addresses for all of them so that they are registered with the Data Commission. And then you are in constant communication with them. If there's a data breach, you are coming out with a policy to make sure that they either compensate Ghanaians, or you make sure that they feel that the law you have in your country, includes them. They must also register as data controllers, and they must make sure they follow all these rules so that the money they're also making from Ghana, right, the Ghanaians or the users of those platforms do not become victims of data breaches, because they are benefiting. Ghana is a marketplace. Ghana is a share of the billions that they are making. So if we have our virtual geographical area, we must also protect it. It doesn't belong to Facebook, right? It belongs to Ghanaians. The virtual space belongs to Ghana. And we must also make sure that we enforce the laws that govern the virtual platform. If I insult anybody on Facebook, they can take that post to court and can be prosecuted. So if the data is breached and Facebook compromises my data, the law must hold them accountable, right? So we should not just be nice to these platforms. We must make sure that we protect the data of the 6 million and over Ghanaians who are on these platforms. And you see, they want to migrate people from Facebook to WhatsApp and the rest.
And Instagram.
How do you ensure that all this, there's a guarantee of your data being protected and your privacy being ensured, right? So we shouldn't just trust the platform that because data privacy. Sometimes that's why people give even ISO certification, because the codes and all that has to be audited to make sure there are no vulnerabilities in their system and infrastructure to have the data breached. So it's a lot of work, and I'm sure they will work on it, and I pray so.
Sure. Dr. Adonu, quickly, a minute for you to react to the submissions there.
All right. So what I'm going to start with is that, but by no means are we saying that, I think saying that Ghanaians are not the only persons whose data has been breached, it's just being picked out of context. By no means, even if it's one person whose data has been breached in Ghana, it's a huge consensus. I was making a statement and that came through. So by that indication, Maximus, we are not saying that
Yeah, I get it.
Let's put it right. Let's put it right. Second is that for us, it is very important that all Ghanaians know that we are gradually entering into a dispensation where data protection is important. And I spoke about it earlier and said that, look, we don't have to wait. We all don't have to wait until such a time like this. He said something that many institutions, he has worked there before. I mean, I don't meet him, but many institutions will not want to comply until a time like this, where things are going haywire. For Data Protection Commission to work, every Ghanaian must be aware that data must be protected. And every institution, like JoyNews, and like I don't know where Maximus works, I don't know where Teki works, but all these institutions as well must be registered. It must be a collective front wanting to protect Ghanaians' data. It must be a collective front bringing all our forces together to do the right thing. And it's not right that the person will be called to come and comment, or any institution at all will comment when they themselves are not compliant, when they themselves are not doing the right thing. So we must, all of us, everybody, all of us must get on board to make our data protection laws strong and our enforcement of it strong.
But you are the enforcer. Sorry, Dr. Adonu. You are the one who's supposed to do the enforcement. It reminds me of a conversation I had with the Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah, who suggested that we like to be policed around, especially with the issue of COVID protocols being breached. And I told him that is why you set up a task force, because you anticipate that people will breach anyway. So that's why you're the Data Commission. So how are you enforcing the laws, and how are you ensuring that the data Ghanaians put out there with these multinationals and tech giants are protected as the Data Protection Commission?
Thank you very much. So I think I was going to come there. How are we enforcing the laws? Now, you may be aware, because we've spoken on this your platform before, that the Data Protection Commission, through the minister, gave out an amnesty that ended last month. And the amnesty was waiving off any institution or entity that had not registered, any data controller or data processor who has not registered with the commission. Within the 6 months, if that institution had not registered or complied, the person was given the opportunity to do so as an amnesty and waive off everything that they owed, and also be taken through the right processes so that they themselves and where they are might do the right thing. The amnesty has come to an end. This month begins, actually today begins the first working day after the amnesty came to an end. And so enforcement, I'm taking this platform to say that we are coming after every institution. We are coming after every institution who blatantly has refused to comply with the Data Protection Act. Every institution that has decided that, they will not comply. And this is actually something that I want to spend some time on.
Okay, sorry, we don't have. Sorry, Doc, we don't have time for that.
Well, so how do we enforce? We enforce by making sure that every institution that has not complied will come at them this week.
Okay.
Time on Joy, and let the whole of Ghana know institutions that have not complied and they themselves are not doing the right thing.
When you say come at them, what do you mean? You're taking them to court? You're fining them? What exactly are you doing?
So first of all, what we are going to do is to name and shame. We are going to bring out all institutions that have that have not complied. Those that have complied, we're going to tell Ghanaians so that they know that every other institution that has not complied doesn't have a name there. After that, we are going to go after them.
All right.
We're going to go after them. The law allows us for us to do prosecutions.
All right. Okay. So let's wrap up this conversation. And you all have a minute each to answer this last question. As we've all established here, data is the new gold. A lot of people will go for data. They can sell it. They can use it for all their dubious activities, hack into people's accounts and withdraw all their money and all that. So it is the new gold, especially in the times we find ourselves with COVID and all. So how do we stay safe online? We've spoken about the government bit. And let me just take for all of you 1 minute response to this. Let me start with you, Maximus. How do we stay safe online as users?
So for me, it starts with you as an individual. So you must have a personal data policy. You must be careful of the platforms where you share your data. And then even on your social media platforms, you must be you must know the kind of data you also share. Personal data, location, your private maybe activities and all that. You don't need to share all those things on those platforms. Like we said, the internet does not forget. Anything you share on any social media platform is public content by their own policy. It means that anybody can have access to it, even if it's breached, anybody can have access to it. And this thing happened in 2019. That's about 2 years ago, and we are not talking about it. It means that something has happened, no action has been taken, and we are here. So for me, protection starts with you, the individual, before the platform as well. Some of us, we don't have even forms on our website because we also want to keep it like that. If you need, call or send us email. That's it.
All right, let me hear from you, Teki Akwete-Falconer.
Yes, so for me, I think Maximus has said the critical things. We should, as individuals, become more and more aware about how these platforms are not just platforms. We're making information accessible. And just as we do not want to leave our doors ajar for anybody at all walking on the streets to walk into our rooms and our homes, we should deal with our digital presence in like manner. And what this means is that we have to be very, very calculating and intentional about what kind of information we're putting there about ourselves. Of course, there are situations where it is invariable that you need to provide some set of critical data. And I think that is where the issues about the laws and enforcement of the laws is extremely important, but at the same time, that's where data protection regulators should be asking themselves, is Facebook collecting information that is really necessary? Is he collecting information that is excessive? Should we start looking at these? Because there are some platforms that are there for social purposes. Do I really need to provide my birth date? Because you see, the problem with these breaches are that there are certain sets of information that once it goes out, you cannot bring it back. And I like what Maximus said. This thing may have happened in 2019, but what happened? Because most data protection laws, for instance, require transparency and breach notifications by the laws. If this breach happened in 2019, was our data protection authority, for instance, made aware? Even if Facebook is not registered, there are jurisdictions, and we had a few of that experience in the US and other places. As long as you have someone whose data has been affected in another country, you're required to contact the regulator. So we really need our regulators to get up and move. And I'm saying this, I've been there before. I know it's not a smooth sailing place, but that is why I think that there is, there's some kind of strength in numbers, and they need to really start thinking about coming together. Our governments also need to resource these institutions effectively to enable them to do that. But for us as individuals, we have to, become more and more aware. Okay. As we've been told here, it's not, the regulator cannot do everything. So invariably, we have to take our lives into our hands. And where we feel that we cannot do it, then we call on the regulators as well.
All right. I appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Adonu spoke extensively earlier about how people can take responsibility of their data protection. I really appreciate your time here. This morning, we had the Director of Regulatory and Compliance at the Data Protection Commission, Dr. Patrick Adonu, founder and Executive Director of Africa Digital Rights Hub, Teki Akwete-Falconer, and Digital Marketing Strategist Maximus Ahmed-Togo. And we've been talking about the latest breach that has been announced, which happened in 2019. 500 million Facebook users have their data published online. Hope you're protected and hope you learned something from this discussion. This is News Desk. We'll take a quick breather now. When we come back, we'll bring you business news. Do stay. Thank you for staying. Time now for business news. The Ghana cedi is expected to replicate last year's performance in 2021. The local currency ended the first quarter of this year with a modest 0.6% point appreciation against the US dollar and is the best performing currency in sub-Saharan Africa. Lead author with the Center for Economic Finance and Inequality Studies, Dr. Benjamin Amwa, which has projected the cedi to end the year at 6 cedis 45 pesos to the dollar, has been reacting to what they believe is the impressive first quarter performance.
We will say that, again, it's back to the strategy that was adopted by Bank of Ghana. The forward auction strategy is really working for the central bank. Why? Because this time around, the central bank requests that treasurers present planned purchase of dollars ahead of time, and the central bank makes these dollars available. So the speculative attack that the cedi used to experience before October 2009, to a large extent, has been relatively brought under check from the forward sales strategy adopted. So basically, for now, we say that is what is contributing to this wonderful performance of the Ghana cedi.
So, Cephas, your organization, predicted that the cedi would end the year at 6 cedis 45 pesos to the dollar, based on your concerns about our strategies for economic rebound post-COVID-19. Now, the budget has been read, and based on the outcomes you're seeing now, would you want to review that projection?
Okay, thank you very much. Our forecast was based on the cedi's performance for the past 25 years. And if you are forecasting, you don't use one period behavior to forecast. You need to observe the phenomenon you want to forecast over a long period and then come with a projection.
Right.
This current behavior of the cedi is something we are witnessing a little bit under 1 year, or maximum, let's say 1.5 years. So if you plug that into your long series of observation, you will not succeed in having any dramatic change in the phenomenon you want to forecast, unless we have enough observation from the current strategy. Then we can be getting closer to what is happening. So your answer to your question is that our forecast was based on the past 25 years performance of the cedi.
Away from the cedi's performance, players in the poultry industry have been schooled on various issues to position them for bigger opportunities going into the future. This was by KETSI, the United States Department of Agriculture, under the Ghana Poultry Project. The business bootcamp also afforded them the opportunity to secure some grants to invest in their businesses. Emma Davis participated in the bootcamp, and here are details.
According to Winfred Kumi, Senior Investment Associate at AV Ventures, the fundamentals of all successful businesses are similar. He further explained some key points to ensuring the success of poultry business.
The fundamentals of all successful businesses are similar. Whether big or small, if you would succeed, you would invariably need to respect the principles of doing business. There are two major sources of finance, and these are based on the life cycle of the business that you are involved in. The first would be equity, which some people will refer to as shares, or your ownership within the business. And then the second is debt, which is essentially borrowing money from an individual or a corporate entity under specific terms over a specific period of time. So the types of investors that would likely be interested in a growth stage business would be: one, a strategic investor. There are also private equity firms. The last category I'll speak about under the growth will be commercial banks.
Dr. Kojo Tufo, Deputy Director of Research and Consultancy at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, says marketing is key in every business and poultry is no exception. Hence, his decision to volunteer in training the mentees to having a business mind.
I got involved in the Ghana Poultry Project basically to help each cohort that the Ghana Poultry Project selects for a training And my main function is to help them in developing the business plan, to have the ideas they have. The value chain of poultry is large, and so the cohorts or the individuals will decide on which aspect of the value chain they want to concentrate on. There are those that want to rear the birds. There are those that want to sell eggs. There are those that want to go into other aspects of feeding and all that, other aspects of the poultry value chain. And so my main function, my role in the Ghana Poultry Project is to train them to have a business plan.
Meanwhile, Karen Deboa, Chief of Party of the Ghana Poultry Project, has encouraged the mentees not to give up when it gets difficult because every business faces challenges.
As far as I know, from each aspect in the value chain, you heard about it, you've seen it, so there are different opportunities within the value chain. Be, like what has been said already, be innovative. Don't be afraid. Fear is something which might hold you back. But like what all the other people who have a lot of experience, who are already in the game for a longer time, they all experience challenges. Even in our project, we experience challenges. It's not only in business. I can tell you, we have to go different ways as well when things are not going the right way. Even if you are an employee, you might face challenges. You will face challenges, and you have to step up after you're falling.
That'll be all for business news. Coming up shortly, George Addo Jr. and I will be discussing the the Champions League quarter-final games happening later tonight. Do stay for details. Time now to talk sports, and tonight Real Madrid are meeting Liverpool and Man City meet Borussia Dortmund in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. I don't know if you've been following them in their respective leagues. That's the Premier League, the La Liga, and the
German Bundesliga.
Yeah, so okay. Let's talk about Real Madrid versus Liverpool.
Real Madrid are 2 points behind Barcelona. They are 2 points behind Barcelona in La Liga. They have an El Clasico to play against Barcelona. That will be on Saturday. So it's a big opportunity, because even if you look at it, Atletico Madrid have 66 points, and it's 65 for Barcelona and 63 for Real Madrid. So they are quite in the race as well for La Liga. So they're not doing bad from where you look at it. But I think it's a position that Atletico Madrid want to have a lot to say about anyway. Liverpool are finding their way back. They're putting in great performances. It was a great win against Arsenal, beating them by 3-0. So this is the 13-time champions up against the 6-time champions. It's a special one. The last time they met was in Kyiv. I was in Ukraine to watch that game when Liverpool lost to Real Madrid. That was a final.
Yeah, I remember that game so well.
Yes, Salah had to
walk off. He was injured.
Yes, injured. And of course, Sergio Ramos almost right there winning the game. And it was a screamer as well from Gareth Bale. So tonight will be a special one. Liverpool have had their own problems in the Premier League. They want to turn all of that away. And then Real Madrid have also got a special tie. And then in the next game, so this is our commentary game at 6:45.
Yes.
At 6:45, we start to build up. Newsnight is truncated because the clocks have moved forward. And that's where we are now. The next game is the Manchester City versus Borussia Dortmund. In the past 3 years, Manchester City have been knocked out at the quarterfinal stage. They don't understand how they were knocked out in the last season when they played against Lyon. They looked like they were winning. Raheem Sterling missed the sitter, and then right at the other end, Lyon got the goal. So Pep Guardiola's team is doing very well in the Premier League. Will it translate finally in the Champions League?
Does it usually translate?
It doesn't translate anyway, but I should think that they've learned a lot of lessons. At least in the last 3 years, they've still got the same team, more or less. They've got a lot of guys who suffered the pain, so they will think that they can do a lot better when they play against Dortmund. But Dortmund have a dangerous striker in Erling Braut Haaland. Everyone is talking about him, and that just tells you how tight this game is. But we'll see how it goes. Remember, it's just 2 legs, so full time is half time in the tie. But you want to get the advantage if you can get the advantage. And we're looking forward to these special games as always. We are running the commentary on the Real Madrid-Liverpool game but we are giving you all the updates on the other game.
Man City.
And to tell you about our full bouquet for you this weekend, because tomorrow Chelsea step in the ring. So we've got FC Porto versus Chelsea. That's a special one that we're running commentary on as well, as we look at the Bayern Munich Paris Saint-Germain. But
Chelsea has become an interest. I mean, let me be honest. I lost interest a bit in Chelsea's games. After a while, it became quite flat.
Yeah.
But I think now it's getting interesting.
I don't even know why,
unfortunately,
the Barcelona
you
fans
struggled a bit.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
In the last game.
I'm really surprised when Gomez met me and said we lost by 5-2. So what were you expecting? We were down by a man and everything was, problematic in that game. It clearly looked like the team had been hit badly. And I think we needed that kind of reality check ahead of the game against Porto. So we should expect that.
But the team that beat you, I mean, look at the position on
that is the thing about the Premier League.
Well, you have a point.
Yeah, you see, everyone was struggling. Like Manchester United struggled to beat Brighton. They know that, yes? Everybody was struggling. So it's just one of those weekends. But it just tells you that, yes, when it comes to defense, Chelsea have issues. And there's a slight lack in, there's a lack in depth there for Chelsea.
Talking about teams that have issues with defense reminds me of Tottenham's game.
Against
Spurs
Newcastle.
have a big problem with defense.
Even though they went about
heartbreak after heartbreak.
I knew they were going to come back, Newcastle. And at this stage, it's more about the teams who are being relegated, the kind of fight they're showing. I'll tell you, in the English Premier League last night, West Ham beat Wolverhampton Wanderers by 3-2. That actually puts the title or the top 4 race in such a tight corner right now.
Extremely tight. I never predicted West Ham to get to that point. I think it makes it interesting, doesn't it? It's not your usual Man City, Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, or Spurs, or Arsenal.
It's too close to call at the moment.
But that's what makes it
right
interesting.
From Leicester City to West Ham to Chelsea to Spurs, to
anybody.
I think it goes all the way down even to Arsenal.
I think this may be a down to the last game situation.
I think so. All those sides are there. Even though I'm still predicting that Liverpool will find their way into it, I still think that Manchester United.
That's a long shot.
Yeah, I think that Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Liverpool will qualify. That's what I think. A lot of people have told me that you need to be careful because Leicester City and West Ham don't look like they're backing off now, and that's what's going to make it tight. But I think that when it matters, with Liverpool's kind of form, they can go on around and win the games. But Chelsea's final 4 games are dangerous when you look at them. But we know how these teams go in terms of grinding, which we expected. Leicester and West Ham are holding on and are playing well. I mean, to go to Molineux and beat Wolverhampton Wanderers by 3-2, they clearly have something there. And Lingard is the new.
Yeah.
Now they say Lingardino.
Yeah,
he's Lingardino. A bit of a Lingardino, but it's all great. So let's see what happens tonight. I don't know what to expect from these two sides. Just to be fair, Real Madrid can turn on today and turn off tomorrow. We don't know. You can have a Liverpool team that are good to win the Champions League and a Liverpool team that are about to be relegated. So it's up to the two sides and what they present to us tonight. We'll just be running commentary for you guys. And you want to join us on our various social media accounts and then of course on commentary out there.
Definitely we will.
Sure.
It's a date with the sports team on Joy 99.7 at 6:45 a.m. We start the build-up to that game at 6:45 p.m.
Yes, you're always up, so I can understand the stress, but it's okay. 6:45 p.m.
Yes, at 6 a.m. Yeah, you hear me on Joy at 6 a.m. every morning for the 6 a.m. news. But thank you so much, George Alex Jr. there. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We are also very interactive on Facebook and social media. We are Joy News on TV. I am Bernice Abubedu Lansa, and for my entire team, we wish you the very best of the rest of the day. Stay safe.